Hello and welcome to Talking Pictures, a podcast where we discuss the movies and TV shows we've been watching. I'm your host David, and joined with me as always my co-host Brian. Brian, how are you?
Well, David, how's things?
Not too bad, not too bad. What are we here for yet again?
We're here to talk about a movie that has been released November, December last year in the States. Mm-hmm. We only got it here in Ireland in January. We're into the end of February and we're only talking about it now because we both watched it.
It was kind of a limited release even in Ireland.
Yeah.
Not a lot of cinemas were showing it, so...
Like an hour drive for us, which is big for us. Like, it's an hour up the road, like, is it even worth it? Mm-hmm. A cinema is supposed to be max 20-minute drive.
Yeah. But, we're here to talk about Damien Chazelle's new movie, Babylon. Which is a film that takes place in the early 20th century, about the 1920s. Kind of takes place over a couple of years, 1920s to roughly the 1930s, as it explores kind of early Hollywood and the transition from silent pictures to talking pictures and the transition of Hollywood in that time. So just so everyone's aware, once again, this is a full spoiler podcast. We won't be holding back, so just be prepared. We're going to talk about the movie in full, spoilers wise.
Brad Pitt commits suicide.
Straight away.
Margot Robbie disappears at the end, and our main character, who was played by Diego Calva, Manny was his name, he has a somewhat bittersweet happy ending.
He took the spoilers to a very serious point there. But yeah, so it follows three main characters played by Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie and Diego Calva.
And then it even follows some more smaller sub-characters, such as the reporter, the journalist, St. John, and Sidney Palmer, the black saxophone jazz,
and Lady Faye. Yeah, there's a lot of there's those three main characters, but then there's kind of not minor characters, but there's still characters with storylines throughout.
Yeah.
So it kind of looks at a lot of I'd say the three main characters are at very different stages in their life in terms of Hollywood. So you have Brad Pitt's Jack Conrad, he's been an actor for years and he's kind of coming towards the end of his career. You have Margot Robbie's Nellie Leroy, who is at the beginning of the film is an aspiring actress. She isn't an actress yet. Like she says, she's a star. She's not
a star in the making, about to break out.
Exactly, yeah. And then you have Diego Calva, who's kind of a slightly less than a runner. He's like just doing odd jobs for these famous people, but he wants to become part of the movies. He wants to be in any department, and his progression through to becoming a studio executive, a producer, director. So it kind of follows them as they journey through Hollywood.
Yeah, they all have their own little individual journeys of success, continuing success. You know, the rags of riches, the 5-act structure where it just goes downhill from there, like Goodfellas, such as. And going back to it being a movie about the transition of silent movies to the talkies, and how actors are, I suppose, being replaced by the next gen of performers. Because when the talkies start being integrated into the movie, the audiences laugh at how they react, how they sound, how they perform, because you're hearing their voices. And so the things are changing. This is an evolutional change among cinema. And I found it very educational, as well as entertaining, but even educational as to how people were trying to adapt sound and all that comes with it into filmmaking.
I suppose we take for granted nowadays the fact that we have the microphone on the boom and you can place it wherever and you can follow the actor around, whereas back in the day, as clearly stated, the microphone is where the microphone is and you had better be in range of that, otherwise it's going to be a half an hour setup. Like it's you work with the mic as opposed to the mic working with you. So that was something that actors never had to deal with. It was just turn up, act, you know. There was no lines to remember, no lines to read.
It was lawless.
Yeah.
It was really lawless.
That comes across very much so in the movie, that it feels like the story, even, because we saw that with Faye, the story isn't even decided until after it's shot.
Yeah.
When they're making the title cards with what the characters are saying. Yeah. Like they're making that up as they go. So it's just, you're seeing actors act, and it's like, oh, we'll worry about the story later.
We should do something like that for a little bit of a fact, because we studied film, and that's one of the things we're told is the movie comes together as a story in the edit. Fuck, that might be a bit of a fun thing to do. Just shoot a bunch of stuff and have people exchange silent dialogue, and then put the title cards in. Put whatever you want in. I actually forgot about. I must have missed that bit. I was probably enamored by the soundtrack, which, by the way, it better win best soundtrack. This movie was snubbed, or it wasn't snubbed, but it still should have gotten the nomination over like Avatar: The Way of Water. But
I'd say we'd be remiss to not mention the fact that this is quite a polarizing movie for a lot of people. It is very much you either love it or you hate it. A lot of the reviews have come down to be kind of middle of the road, like 50%. But I think that is people either loving it or hating it, and the reviews meeting in the middle.
Where did you fall on it?
I really enjoyed it. I'm a big fan of Damien Chazelle. Whiplash is one of my favourite films. La La Land I loved. Big fan of First Man as well. So I wasn't actually as excited for this as some of his other ones, but I really enjoyed it. The music was fantastic. I know you were just saying it there, but I actually really enjoyed the music. The individual scenes were great. Just following the characters as they go. And it's a 3-hour movie, but it didn't feel like 3 hours. It felt completely... I was just so engrossed in the story, I didn't notice the runtime at all.
So what you just said there were the individual scenes were great. That right there is the sole reason as to why I love this movie. I went to see it in the cinema. I needed a bit of a push to see it because of the whole divisiveness, and I fell really in that far deep end of liking it so much. I had so much to say based on why I just simply loved it, but not as a narrative, not as a whole story, not as a traditional, oh yeah, this movie's great. No, this movie's great because the scenes are great. You could take a scene out and it doesn't really matter. Like, how many party scenes are in this? Take a few of them out. Maybe it won't really add that much to the overall story. A lot you could take out, or a lot you can trim down, rewrite, therefore reshoot it, make it shorter. But no, he did this. Damien Chazelle did this the way he wanted to do it. This is his passion project, I would imagine. But like, I had to get it out there on Letterboxd. The review, I had to put it in writing. Like, the reviews suggest people either liked or dislike it, and I agree, as I said, because I loved it. You can't just say this movie was fine, it's alright. No, how can you? I'd be curious to see if anyone does say, oh yeah, man, it was alright, that was fine. Or like, if you say it's not great, right, that's fine, but like saying it's alright, no. To me, this movie's class because of the scenes. The story, yeah, it's a fine story. It's has a traditional narrative structure, rags to riches, a hero's journey, a traditional end of some characters, bittersweet moments, sad moments, realistic moments. Yeah, and as I said, it's a fine narrative. It's a normal story, but the scenes, like, guys, I keep saying the scenes, but like, the fucking scenes. It starts off with the elephant scene, and then the party scene, and then the desert scene where they're filming, and then there's the sound scene which we mentioned just earlier. Then there's a party scene, then there's a snake scene, then there's a Tobey Maguire scene, and then there's a party scene, and then on and on and on. The soundtrack keeps going. I left the cinema, I drove home. Before I started driving, safety folks, I put into my watch later on YouTube the soundtrack, and I saved them to my I saved the music notes that I wanted to keep listening to, and I have like 3 favourites. I listen, I want to listen to a bit of Babylon, listening to that. My feet were kicking. Haven't kicked my feet in the cinema since I saw Elvis last year. I found it very entertaining. I found a lot of the emotional scenes to be, I suppose, relatable, because we both studied film. We both know what it's like. We, like, such as the scene between Gene Smart and Brad Pitt talking about, yeah, you're done, but you'll be remembered.
Yeah.
Because that
was a great scene.
Your image, you are up there on the screen. Someone 50 years from now, 100 years from now, they're going to watch you on that screen, and you're going to be there forever. But you, right now, you're done.
Yeah.
You're dead. And we knew it was coming. You know, we knew that he was walking up to the hotel. We were following him on the dolly, and we stop at the door, and just do a little bit of blocking, leave one room, go into the other, walk back in with a gun. It was a crowd of drunken lads sitting far a bit behind me, like obviously didn't know what they were watching, because to see the gun and they go nah.
They weren't expecting it. It was like, wait, where did that come out of? But it's like, you know,
it's about like, dude, fucking you're just drunk. You know, like we knew it was coming, but like it was. I like how it was done. Yeah, Brad Pitt is the main star. He's the first name, and then there's Margot Robbie. But I'd argue the lead character is Manny.
Yeah, definitely.
Manny's the main character.
He's the go-between
a lot of the characters.
Yeah, exactly. He's interacting with most of the characters,
and he's not the point of view character, because we have scenes with Sidney Palmer, and we have scenes with who was the
Lady Faye.
Yeah, all them characters were great. I like that scene with Sidney Palmer where he because they were shining a light on him.
Yeah, he looked.
He wasn't dark enough.
Yeah,
and he had to put it on him, and like you can just see the fucking tears coming down him. And then we was playing it, and then I just like that scene where he's walking out, and you're gonna need that for tomorrow. I'm not gonna be back tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And then
his integrity was, he valued that more than being a star.
And funny enough, the whole movie throughout, he's like ripping on his bandmate, saying like, you are a useless piece of shit, you can't fucking work for shit, you can't play music for shit, if I fucking put this up your ass and you fucking still can't play this shit, you're not worth it, you're useless. He's criticising it. He's actually coming across a bit of a dick, but he's still very good at his job.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't suck it up and keep up the work once he's put in that situation to be insulted by his race.
Yeah.
So
he still has the integrity regardless of whether he's a star or not.
And that was his chapter closed, didn't it? Mm-hmm. Lady Faye had a bit of a unfortunate similar ending, but also had a nice moment because she was a lesbian.
She was a real victim, I think, in this of the times changing, she was a performer, and also she created the title cards for the when characters were speaking. Yeah. But obviously, because we moved from silent films to talkies, they didn't need the title cards anymore, so her job became obsolete. Yeah. And she was fired because of it. So she kind of...
Well, even
was a victim of the change of circumstances, the change in film.
Yeah, and she was dumped.
Mm-hmm.
And then she had that nice little moment exchange with Brad Pitt just at the end, and I'm moving to Europe. That's where she was moving, and she had that like they just move on, and some characters can't move on, like Brad Pitt. Mm-hmm. And then we get to Margot Robbie's Nelly. I really loved her. Fucking Margot Robbie, dancing goddess.
Mm-hmm. She really let herself loose. Damien Chazelle was like, yeah, you just dance, you have fun.
Yeah.
And she was like, no notes, work away.
And she's doing that sober. Mm-hmm. Everyone's doing it sober, like but she did it so well as well. Like I just love the choreography of it all. But that you knew something of a downfall was coming at the end, especially after that Tobey Maguire scene, which I liked, but
that was a little bit out there.
It was minimal. Mm-hmm. He sort of represented someone who like people don't know how to have fun anymore. It's like we have people like that nowadays. Mm-hmm. We're like, people used to be like this, and now we're all like, oh, PC or politically correct or whatever. Like this guy, he's a sadist. He's a fucking torturous. He's a mobster.
I think that the Tobey Maguire was a real pinpoint in it, because there's such a difference between the beginning of the movie with the party scene, and everyone is just naked and drunk and on drugs, and everyone is having a great time, having fun. And that's just the norm. This is just another Saturday night for everyone in Hollywood. And it's, we're gonna drink until the sun comes up, and then everyone's on set in 3 hours, so come on. And that's just the norm. But then as the movie progresses and we see the change in Hollywood, you also see the change in
the underground.
You see the change in how people act and portray in real life, because you have that beginning scene where it's crazy. That's where Margot Robbie finds her break. But then later on in the movie, they have to go to this really highly sophisticated party where all the studio executives are there, and everyone's dressed in
very posh
posh, yeah, exactly. And it was that's what Hollywood is now. It's pristine and it's highly regarded,
top class
stuff. And it's like, you know, if you don't know what to say, just say something in French. You know, she's being coached not to say these things. You know, you have to speak correctly, pinky up, all this stuff. And then Tobey Maguire, he represents like, oh, you know, he wants to be in the old Hollywood again.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, you know, you know, we're going to, I keep saying, you know,
sure,
he's going to these underground parties that are, like how they used to be, but not at all. He's just got it completely mixed up. It's this mentality that everyone has of like, oh, everything was so much better.
Yeah.
Back in the day, but when you kind of look on it, obviously we're looking at it here with kind of rose-colored glasses with Damien Chazelle.
Yeah.
Making it spectacular and bombastic. But then when he shows like, well, maybe it wasn't actually all this good, because you have seen it from Tobey Maguire's perspective where it's all underground and it's dirty and it's filthy. Like at the beginning of the movie, a woman dies from overdose, and like that could have been shot completely differently, but because of the high intensity music and the everyone dancing, it's kind of played off not so much for laughs, but it's not as serious. It's a serious moment, but it's still high energy. But you could completely shoot that similarly to how the Tobey Maguire scenes were shot later on, and it is just kind of as messed up as he is.
The camera work does portray as well. Like there's this one seamlessly cut back to Manny shot, and just to the corner of him there's this like deformed guy standing there next to him, sort of like look edging at him like, fuck, this fucking give me the shivers. And then even worse when they go down underground with the fucking rat eater, and then they have a fucking alligator, which I thought was great. He fucking lets loose.
Which is similar to how at the beginning they had the elephant. They just have these wild exotic animals. And so I think that's it does a really good job, I think, throughout with showing the progression through Hollywood. Those parties to the sophisticated parties, and then him showing like, well, this is what the parties actually were. And then the silence to the talkies. It just is a great progression.
All this is it is a reflection on how we act today. Just different era.
And it's not even that long ago. It's 100 years. I know when you say 100 years,
but
that's a long time. It's not that long ago. No, definitely not. Like we saw, the movie ends with him watching Singing in the Rain, and that kind of that realization for him that, oh, this movie is kind of based on my life. And that change, and Singing in the Rain was a movie based on the change from the silence to the talkies. But Singing in the Rain wasn't that long ago. And for him, that was still within his life. So 100 years is not that long, really. And I think the leap we've had, and that was kind of expressed in the final montage, that he showed the progression of cinema, and it was the horse running. Slowly through, well, quite quickly, he showed all these shots, and then it shows a big shot of Avatar.
The whole generational, yearly progression of cinema and movies,
and it went through like Man on the Moon, Charlie Chaplin, Tron. Like it was just loads of a lot of recognizable stuff. Wizard of Oz. Any kind of
the Wizard of Oz was a real like open door to the Golden Gate.
That was because you had the
color, the bright color.
The change from the biggest change was from silent movies to talking movies, and then from black and white to color.
And then we're going from wherever. What's the opposite of fucking Avatar CGI? You know.
So we saw that big progression throughout, and
the music they're just using all these, especially that montage. It's just great. The jazz, I don't even know what type of jazz it is. It's like fucking upbeat, high octane, high energy.
High octane, that's what I was gonna say. But I think that is Damien Chazelle. If you watch Whiplash and La La Land, you're gonna hear that type of music. Not so much the exact same time, but you're gonna hear good quality music. First Man is a little bit of an outlier because that's not so much Damien Chazelle auteur kind of way.
It's very somber.
And Whiplash and La La Land, if you haven't seen either of those, highly recommend, and the music in those are fantastic as well. And you can even see those inspirations because Whiplash is about a drummer, and you kind of have a lot of shots in this movie over a drum kit. Like that's reminiscent of these shots in Whiplash. He knows how to film drums to look good.
And the extensive of letting the musicians play the instruments, like especially in the opening party scene. That was a half an hour. That is a half an hour of the first movie before they start filming. Like, why are we seeing all this? Why are we seeing these people dance party? I couldn't give you a straight answer as to why. Like some piss poor cunt who hasn't made it is going to say this is bad, this is terrible, there's no point for this, or even someone who has made it will give their opinion. My opinion is it good? Is it fun? Is it entertaining? Yeah. The production design, was it nominated for production design? If it was, I think it's a high contender. Like, it just looks real, and you know those continuous tracking shots that go on for so long you forgot that it is one. Yeah, a few of those are in there. Very good, very well done. I was very happy with this movie, and you can't let sometimes you can't let the reviews and critics say something such as it's very divisive down the middle, 55, 56 on Rotten Tomatoes, and then you think, well, I'm not going to go see it, because that's sort of the attitude I'm going with this year. But I fucking loved it. As I said, because the scenes, the sound scene was so fucking funny. Yeah. But the individual scenes make it for me. Therefore, and this is every scene, therefore I loved it. And there's only probably one thing I would change from start to finish, would be the fate of Nellie Leroy, Margaret Robbie's character. I liked her, very carefree, get out of the car and just wander into the night. Yeah. And then
she's gone forever.
Never to be seen again. I like that she did that, and then Manny comes out, blood all over him and he calls out to her, can't find her, leaves, starts in life without her. And then there's like a bunch of news, a bit of a news montage of,
we skip forward about 20 years, so you get a couple of quick headlines,
and we see that Jack Conrad, Brad Pitt, has committed suicide, and Nellie Leroy found dead in hotel age 34. I thought maybe if we just kept the death of Brad Pitt's character on that sequence, it would have let his conclusion stand out more. And I thought maybe, these two characters died because they couldn't handle the transition in Hollywood, and I thought maybe if we just left Margot Robbie's ending be more ambiguous, let it be unknown, let it be unsolved, because that can happen. People disappear from Hollywood, not necessarily die, but they just leave, go on, start a new life. If Brendan Fraser wasn't having his return to pop culture, starting with Doom Patrol, then what would he be doing? Elijah Wood, what's he doing nowadays? And these are like popular performers and working actors in our era. This is in the 1930s.
Even before, there's loads of people that have just faded into obscurity, just like stopped acting. The kid from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Charlie.
Yeah.
That's his only role, and he just stopped being an actor.
Ke Huy Quan, before he came back.
Exactly, yeah. He was a stunt coordinator. He's just behind the camera, and he's not a star. So you're right, yeah. I think you're dead right. If there was one thing to change, it would just be let her walking off into the darkness.
Happy.
And she's content. Just let that be her ending, and you don't know what happened. And that's just the way it is sometimes. Yeah. With people, you don't know what happened to them, and you never will.
And that's the only thing I would change, because I thought maybe it felt she shared that moment with Brad Pitt, whereas Brad Pitt, like, even how they shot his suicide death, like, I just imagine on set he just walks into the room, cramps up into the corner next to the sound guy or to the special effects guy, and then someone gives the silent visual cue to the blood squirt to the wall. Bam. That's it.
Yeah.
So I really found this to be maybe Damien Chazelle's most grand scale,
grandiose, ambitious.
That's what I want to say. Grandiose. I'm not very literate in my speaking, but yeah, I wouldn't say I would like to say my most entertaining, but then Whiplash is very good. But for now, I'm just very happy with it. I gave it 5 stars. Fuck y'all.
If you had to sum up the movie in one word, if you could, how would you describe it? Would it be grandiose?
No, it'd be crazy.
Crazy?
Yeah.
I would say bombastic. It's just it starts from that first scene with the elephant scene. It starts and it doesn't stop.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know.
Yeah, bombastic. I'd have to look up that in the dictionary to like find that. Yeah, crazy, insane. Yeah.
All the buzzwords.
all the 5-letter, 6-letter words.
Yeah.
Words that I as a dyslexic and non-literate. Did I say that right?
Literate, yeah.
Literate person would say. Yeah, I'm very happy with that, and should have been nominated Best Picture. It better win Best Soundtrack. And Margaret Robbie, fucking killing it. What a god. What a goddess.
She's brilliant. She seemed like she had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
And I hope she works with Damien Chazelle again.
Yeah, keep it up, because normally you think, oh, that's a role. That's Brad Pitt and Margot Robbie. He's obviously, in his mind, if he thought of this like when years ago, he'd be thinking, Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone. You know, that's what you think. But yeah, curious to know if any of our viewers have watched it and what they thought of it.
Yeah, if you've seen this, let us know. Drop a comment on our Instagram. So thanks so much for listening. As I said, if you want to leave us a comment, just on what you thought about the film, our Instagram is Talking Pictures Pod. We also have a TikTok, so we're on TikTok at Talking Pics Pod. If you want to, we'd really appreciate you leaving a 5-star review on the podcast. It helps us out. It costs you nothing, so why not?
Yeah, it costs nothing to be nice.
Exactly. So we hope you enjoyed listening to this episode of Babylon. Check back with us next week. Our episodes go live every Wednesday. For now, that is everything from us here. Brian, any final words?
If you're Irish and you're listening to us, won't mind a few suggestions, because sometimes we often talk about what we're going to talk about next. We're due to talk about a few things that are, not as traditional as release of big blockbuster movies or big shows or anything like that. We only do one episode a week, so it's kind of important that we pick something really good to talk about, because I really enjoy talking about the last few other topics on previous episodes. Like, we're not going to talk about Cocaine Bear or anything like that.
No.
But like, if we have a lot to say and we have a lot of love, that's what we're going to talk about. So we're still open to the suggestions.
Yeah. So if you have any suggestions, leave us a comment either on our Instagram or TikTok, or send us a message on, maybe we'll put up a poll on our Instagram story, something like that. Send it on. We'll find it.
You'll find our email.
Yeah.
Send us an email.
Send us an email. Hold on, give me 1 second. We'll find out what our email is.
You got a question, you got a topic, you got a curiosity, send us an email.
Yeah, so if you've got a topic, question, anything like that, send us an email at talkingpicturespodcast1@gmail.com. It'll be in the description for this episode.
Oh yeah, but yeah.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, David.